Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, this is your favorite Russian talking, and I want to start my Baldur's Gate 3 series with introducing this fucking guy, Oathbreaker aka Death Knights, made by Larian Studios. Class is super fun, has a lot of spike upfront damage, has some summon capability and some off healing as well, very good on dialogue options, can persuade people as hell, has a 9-inch dick, and overall also very resembles me to a lot of red-pilled men in the western countries who decided to go their own way. Why? Because you're playing as the Oathbreaker. Essentially, you look at your oath and decided, man, fuck this service, I'm just gonna go my own way. And you decided to create your own MGTOW movement. So today we're gonna go over its playstyle, how good Oathbreaker is, its base rotation, its base sacrifice and priorities, its leveling, and also multi-classing capabilities as well. For the playstyle, you essentially kinda incorporate this fantasy unholy knight who's trying to get it up at their close and personal, do a lot of melee damage, spread his aura of hate across the undead minions, and have on them with you gobble up anybody. And from a fantasy perspective, it actually does pretty good job. But your playstyle is gonna be 90% melee, unless you subclass into a warlock, but even then, your playstyle is still gonna be 85% melee. So, for melee, why it is important? You have your own spells as the Paladin, and the spells are relatively plentiful to choose from. But the thing about the spells is you can actually use the spells and convert them into your smites, or essentially judgments. And your smites are gonna proc a lot of damage. So if you look at it and I'm mouse overing smite 20 to 51 damage, well, if I just melee strike somebody, it's 11 to 21. So smites pile up good amount of damage, and it's in general good to sacrifice your spell slots and your spells that you prepare to do a lot of smite damage. When it comes to your smart arsenal, you have your thunderous smite, you have your wrathful smite, branding smite, and searing smite. All those 4 smites you're probably gonna use 10 to 15% of the time. Why? Because their damage is actually lower than a divine smite or a blinding smite. These smites are used situationally. They are worth the spell slots because most of the time you use your spells for smites anyway, so it's not a bad thing to do. But keep in mind that majority of the time it's going to be either divine smite or a blinding smite. When it comes to a crowd control, what are your options? The options are not the most terrible out of all the classes, but also not the greatest. You have your Crown of Madness, which has about 40 to 60% land rate, and it utilizes your level 2 spell slot. You have your Compelled Duel, or a command that you can do on enemy characters, and then Dreadful Aspect, which is kind of this big AoE howl. Booyah! All this time, you're gonna use probably that 10 to 20% of the time you're fighting, because your main role at the end of the day is gonna be a damage dealer, and as a damage dealer, you have to dish out a lot of smites. And that's kind of a number one, I would say, preferred playstyle, is to go two-hander with a lot of smite damage and forget a lot of about the spell damage. You out there, you mutilate people, you kill the shit out of them, and you don't worry about controlling them. Your healing is not bad, but it is limited. You essentially get about 5 to 6 charges if you fully spec into the Paladin of Lay on Hands. 1 charge heals you for 24, you can actually double your charges to heal up to 48 total, or cures of some ailments. It's not bad, but you're not the healing class. When you become an Oathbreaker, you essentially become more of a damage dealing class, and your priority would be do damage, not a whole lot of CC. However, you can spec more into a supporting Oathbreaker, and we're gonna talk about the spec a little bit later down this video. Number one, for the attributes, there's just 2 different usually ways to go with the attributes. This is a standard attribute if you wanna go with the strength build. Paladin, keep in mind that you're gonna get gloves at the end. My Paladin does have the gloves at the end. That gives you boost to a 23 strength right away, and at that point in time you sacrifice strength to essentially boost your constitution and charisma. But, and also if you go to the Paladin Warlock, you want to go with the max charisma. But overall, when you're actually going to start the game, and in general during the start you want to go 8, 8, 15, 16, 17. And the reason why is because you will have Hour of Protection that gives you a buttload of saving throws to the point where you can afford going 8 in 8 in both intelligence and wisdom. Now I'm gonna level a few builds for you guys specifically to showcase what this guy is capable of. So first let's start with the strongest build possible, which is Oathbreaker Warlock combination. So for this one, we're level 2, you get to pick your fighting style, and for the fighting style I would strongly recommend going with the defense. Basically, I'm gonna make a short video specifically showcasing the math behind it, but the math is super convoluted on both of those talents. But the way it comes out to is the great weapon fighting is gonna increase your hit chance by roughly around 6% last time I calculated. And the defense is gonna decrease your chance of getting hit by anywhere between 10 to about 16% on average. So from a pure value-based perspective, defense is the way to go at level 2. Level 3 I think is a phantom level, we're not getting really all that much, just some extra spells, which is good. And then at level 4 we get to pick our first attribute, and obviously we're gonna go with the Great Weapon Master. It's basically you sacrifice 25% hit chance for 10% extra damage. 10 extra damage is massive. The Greatsword by itself, unenchanted with no +1s, will do about an average 7 damage. Plus your strength modifier is 13. Let's say you have +1, which is 14, and let's say you have another rolling damage of 1d4, right, which is about 2.5 extra damage on top of it. So at the end you're gonna end up with between 16 to 17 damage, extra 10 damage on top of that from here, and a 6 damage from another aura that you're gonna get at later levels is a godsend. That's why this pack just does so much more damage. Oathbreaker does have a lot less healing and defensive capabilities of the other paladins, but his offensive capability is just unrivaled. So with that said, we're gonna go with the Great Weapon Master. Now at level 5 we're gonna pick up an extra attack, which is always welcome, and we're gonna pick up also a very good spell, which is gonna be Darkness. Then we're gonna go to level 6. We're gonna pick up our Hour of Protection that gives us a saving throw based on our charisma modifier, so at the end you can get up to 22 charisma with this build, and this is gonna give you +6 to all your saving throws, and that's why you can go to 8 and 8 here. So with that said, next level, level 7, this is where we're gonna get our Aura of Hate. And it not only gives a +6 damage to you, it also gonna give +6 damage to all the minions, all the undead minions and fiends around you as well. At level 8, now we're gonna pivot to a Warlock class. And we're gonna start with the Warlock. We're gonna go to the cantips. Cantips, these two are very good. The last cantip is optional. Usually it's either a Bone Chill if you want to deny some healing, or a True Strike sometimes if you want to get some advantage on the attack roll. But it's not major. The major hero choice is gonna be the Great Old One. And the reason why is because you're gonna be proccing Fear quite frequently every time you land a critical hit, and this is amazing, and it's just a level 1 in Warlock. So, and then for the spells, I would strongly recommend picking up Dissonant Whispers and not Tasha's Hideous Laughter, but I would actually go with a Charm. Fear Charm thematically fits great, but keep in mind you're still gonna be using these spell slots for smites most of the time. So Warlock level 2, that's where we're gonna pick up Eldritch Blasts and 1 extra spell. For the extra spell, this guy is not back, Armor of Agathis, Jesus Christ. But I like Arms of Hadar actually personally more, but this one is more or less optional. And for here, first of all, the must-have is a Devil's Sight. Basically what it does, it lets you see the darkest both magical and not magical, to a distance up to 24 meters. Basically what's gonna happen is with your spells you're gonna pop the AoE Blind and AoE Shadows, which will obscure you, and you will essentially there not gonna suffer any penalties, while all your enemies are gonna be at disadvantaged position and won't be able to hit you properly. And that's why that 1 extra point to defense in that obscure place compounds just so well. And for the second one, basically your Eldritch Blasts do not good damage. Your melee strikes do about 30 damage a hit, and you can get up to 3 strikes in a row. And you can get 3 Eldritch Blasts, but they will hit for like 10 to 15 damage. It's not that much, really. So I prefer go with a little bit more utility here. So I'll go with either Repelling Blast, because that's what makes the Eldritch Blast worth it, to knock people off the surfaces, off the cliffs to their death, or pick some RP shit and go for the Beast Speech. Why? Because talking to animals gives you tons of experience, and it's just a pretty awesome roleplay in this game. So go for the Repelling Blast at level. Level 3, this is where it's another a must-have, a choice that you're gonna pick here. For the spells, again, the Darkness you have, Invisibility is a great choice, or Cloud Darkers. But the first one is the must-to-have, is a Misty Step, because the closing gap, doing a gap closers. So that's why essentially it's good to get rid of those Eldritch Blasts and not put any more points in damaging of them, and actually more points in utilities, because you can obviously gap close with Misty Step and start mauling people to death with your melee. And then for the Pact, you're gonna pick the Pact of the Blade, and this is what makes this build so deadly, is because basically what you do is you switch your main attribute from strength to charisma for all your hits and all your damages. But the reason why it makes it so overpowered is because the more charisma you have, and like I said, you can get up to 22 charisma on the end game, what's gonna happen is gonna give you attack chance, which is hit chance. It's gonna increase your damage. Then it's gonna give you Aura of Hate higher multiplier, so your Aura of Hate is gonna give you even more damage. So you're essentially getting 2 points of damage and 1 point of attack per 2 charisma points, versus if you would go to strength, you'd get 1 and 1, so you get 1 extra point of damage. Then all your fiends around, undead fiends and undeads around you, are gonna do a lot more damage. And last but not least, to put a cherry on top of that shit, is you're also gonna get a lot more savings throws because of Aura of Protection. Very, very potent way to do it. So, and then you're gonna put another level, 2 levels into Warlock, so you're gonna get another Cantip. Like I said, I like Bone Chill or Divine Strike. I think I prefer more of the True Strike better. And then I'm gonna pick up Cloud Daggers. And for the feat here, ability improvement, and I would dump more points here. So basically you can get 1 point from the start here to 18. And then after that, you also can get 1 from Auntie, and then there is a hat that gives you a couple more points. That's how you can get to 22 charisma, essentially. But yes, another attribute, I would dump everything into attributes here at this point. And last but not least, we have here, which is a class feature, is Deepened Pact. Deepened Pact, basically what it does, it gives you an extra attack. And it stacks with your other extra attack from Paladin. So that's how you get 3 attacks. And then you give Haste, which is another action, which gives you another 3 attacks. And boy, you do shit ton of damage. You get another invocation spell. So for the spells here, for level 3, thematically, I like to go for the AoE Fear or Hunger of Hadar. Actually, sorry. Hunger of Hadar is freaking fantastic, and 90% of the time I go with this one. Occasionally I would put Fear just for the thematics reasons, Geas Form just if I need to like pass something, and for RP reasons, but overall Hunger of Hadar is just absolutely fantastic on here. And here, like I said, I would just pick a Beast Speech or the other one that is optional. I would not go with Agonizing Blast that gives you extra damage, because you're not going to be using your Eldritch Blast for damage, you're just going to use them for utility. Another build that is very, very strong, almost as strong as Paladin Warlock, but thematically is very enjoyable to play, is the Paladin Champion. It's go 9 levels into Paladin and 3 levels into a Champion, and you pick up 2 different playstyles there as well. So for the first fighting style, again, you start with the defense, because just the value is incredible. For the level 3, nothing, you just get your baseline abilities. So for the level 4, here I want to pay attention to a couple feats that are absolutely fantastic. So, number 1 that is fantastic feat here is Heavy Armor Master. It's basically increases your mitigation by 3 and gives you 1 extra strength. Early game, I kid you not, I tested out the damage, and out of 5 attacks, my main guy went from 28 HP down to about 2 or 3 HP without this talent, and hovered over 15 with this talent. Early game, enemies don't do a lot of damage, and this you get a tons of value for this. A must to have up until level like 5 or 8. Once you pick up an extra attack, I would say then the Great Weapon Master would probably be a better option. But overall, I think this is a very good talent. The other one that is super strong that I actually recommend is Resilient with the Constitution. And the reason why this one is very strong is because it gives you a proficiency in the Constitution saving throws. What is a Constitution saving throw? It's basically the enchantments and the spells that you cast. So in this game, you cast a spell, the effect on it is on the enemy. If you smack the caster a few times, their concentration gets broken and the spell gets released, the effect gets released. So in this case, if you actually proficient in the saving throws, it's going to be super hard for your enemies to actually disrupt your spells. And the reason why is because you're going to pick up some amazing enchantments later in the game. So I'll go with actually Resilient. So early in the games I'll go with the Heavy Armor Master, later in the game I would go with the Resilient. That's how I would do. So level 5 we pick up an extra attack, which is also good. Keep in mind that if you want to use the obscure tactic where you put either Beguiling Shadows or Hunger of Hadar on top of yourself, you will need to pick up a Dark Vision anywhere else, probably from your gear, because you're not going to pick it up from a Warlock. So here we're going to get our Aura of Protection, the next we're going to pick up our Aura of Hate. Then we're going to, at level 8, we're gonna pick up another feat. In this usually feat I'd like to go with either ability improvement or a Heavy Armor Master, depending on the stats and the stat allocation and however you guys wanna do it. I would personally probably go with the ability stats, still wear gloves and dump a lot of points into a Charisma and Constitution. So with that said, at level 9 finally we get our 2 spell slots. The thing about level 3 spell slots, you kind of want to use it wisely. You can use it on a Blinding Smite, which is the highest smite damage in the game, and it will do a hella good damage. But you also have this amazing Elemental Weapon enchantment, which basically gives you +1 attack rolls and 1d4 extra damage of your choice. So I'll definitely pick up a Weapon Elemental enchantment and animate that. You actually get to summon Undead Bat that will benefit from Aura of Hate +6 damage. So that's probably the route that I was gonna go. So once we've done 9 levels into Paladin, we're finished here. We're gonna go into the Champion. And the reason why I like Champion so much is because of his level 3 and just a fighter also have a great synergy. Why? Because you also pick up another fighting style. So the biggest benefits from going to a fighter instead of Warlock is you get to put 2 extra points into Paladin, pick up unlock level 3 slots and some really nice enchantments. Number 2 is you get to pick up defense and another style. If you go with the one-hander, which is really good, dueling is okay, but it's only 2 damage and a lot of your damage is going to be coming from a smite proc, it's not going to be coming from just a pure weapon damage. So I'd strongly recommend go with the protection, which gives a disadvantage every time your allies get attacked if they're within 1.5 meters of you. This is incredible because with this build you're gonna have a lot of undead pets. You're gonna have a necromancer going with you on your adventures. You're gonna have a priest with a create dead and animate dead that's coming with you. You're gonna have a lot of undead pets and you're gonna giving them this aura. This is a fantastic, goes very good thematically as well. So defense and protection. So for level 2 we pick up the action surge. Having an extra action every short rest is fantastic. It's a really strong talent and you get it on that level 2 or a feature ability. So finally for the level 3 you're gonna pick up Champion, which gives you an extra critical chance, extra 5% critical chance basically. So extra 1 roll, which is 5%. And the reason why this is super strong is because every time you crit, you cast Smite on your target. So the more you crit, the more smites you're gonna cast. It doesn't matter if you're running with a shield and a one-hander, because if your one-hander is gonna crit, the smite's still gonna do the same damage. But you're also gonna be rolling with a lot of protection, and all the allies around you is gonna be protected really well. Your undeads are gonna do a lot more damage. It's just such a strong and powerful and enjoyable class to spec, and you can definitely make this fantasy of just having this big undead party, and this guy synergizes so much with Necromancer. And for my next video, I'm actually gonna create a really cool undead party to show you guys. Special call out to Vast Stone Brew. What happened is I passed the whole game on the Tactician difficulty. It was not the difficult one. Actually, to be honest, Divinity, the original Sin 2, was more difficult than this on a Tactician difficulty, so I downloaded a couple mods to boost the HP of the mods, to give them extra attacks, so I would actually have a little bit more fun playing against them. And those mods fucked my game up, and my cloud save also got fucked up. That's why I downloaded specifically somebody else's Paladin, and this guy was kind enough to let us use his save via Nexus mod. So super call out to Vast on Brew. Thank you, brother. My friends, thank you for watching. Love you all. It's good to be back. Let's keep going.